Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Everyone, I'm ready for Saturday.
Why is it that when we start, I don't want to start with good morning, Chris?
Yeah, we could go, but you know what? We could go back to just like I had it. I must have mentioned this before that has dude that I used to work with named Sean Alford, and Alford would come walking up beside you. This is back in my restaurant days. Sean, props to you. Hope you're well. Who knows? Maybe I'll get back to you. But and Sean, I told you this as well. Sean would have this habit of walking up beside you, and he's already talking about something. Like he'd kind of come up beside you, and he's like, "Yeah, like I just can't believe the Toronto Harbor Commission did that. I find it ridiculous." And I would turn over, like, "Sean, what are you talking about, man?" It's like, "Oh, sorry. Right, right, right." And then he'd kind of walk away. He wouldn't clarify why he was cheesed about the Toronto Harbor Commission or something, but he would do that all the time. Come walking by me. So when I say walking by me, if I put the picture in your head, I'm standing in the service area of the restaurant, kind of getting the kitchen flowing on one side. It's just like there's a big service window. The plates come over. I hand them off to the servers. They take the food out. He'd come walking by. He's like, "Yeah, you know what? Cheesecake is just ridiculous. I don't know why the price of cheesecake is so high." And he'd just keep on walking. Like he had the best nonsensical one-liners ever. And he would never explain what he was saying. So we could completely Alfred this thing and just like you hit record at some point when we're talking, and I'll look up and I'll see that we're it's live. We're like, okay, I guess we're there. See if you can catch me in a swear word.
I was just thinking, like, yeah, I get you've told me about that individual before. I was just gonna be like, "What's going on, Clough?" Like I don't know.
Is it too
That good.
formal?
It feels formal. It feels like if you ask my wife, she'll tell you I'm a rule follower. So when you tell me, like greetings are important to you, or you may not even have said that. I just feel that that's what I'm inferring, that they're
I've
important to
never
you.
said that. It's funny. I've never actually said that.
What's up, Clough?
There we go. That works too. What's up? What's up? Do you want me to drop my idea in, or you said you wanted to throw something down?
I wanted to drop a shout out to our
Okay.
newest subscriber,
Okay.
which is hilarious because, well, every now and again I check our EDU decoded email,
Oh yeah.
and every now and again, yeah, I know it's like, does that really still exist?
I
Yeah, it's
was yeah.
there.
You totally caught me. I'm like, that's right. We haven't. That's like
We
me
don't.
this. That's like me this week thinking I should check my voicemail, and then
Oh,
at school, and I actually forgot how to do it. So I was like, how do I code into this again to find it? You know, big thanks that there was two voicemails on there, and then my heart's like I'm like, oh my gosh, I missed a voicemail. But it was someone that was just doubling up. I'd already been in email communication and talking to them full on phone, but yeah, my heart started racing a little bit, like I had missed a important contact. Okay, so you're checking our Gmail feed.
and I see that we have a new subscriber to the channel. It's Debbie Donsky.
Props to you, Debbie.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. We appreciate that. I was like, it's one of those things. I don't know. I read it and I'm like, I have a moment of, oh, that's nice. And then I move on with my life. It's I don't even know. It's just interesting. I don't know. Is that what people feel like when people subscribe to their YouTube channel? Like when I'm subscribing to people's YouTube channel, do they see that I'm following or subscribing and then they're like, "Oh, that's nice," or do they not care? I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that people are willing to have a machine push out our content to them when it's ready. I think that's kind of nice.
There's something I don't give a lot of thought to the analytics. I don't give a lot of thought to. Uh-oh, are we frozen?
Are we frozen?
No, we're
Or was
good.
I
The video's frozen. The video's frozen. We're still capturing audio though. Okay, we'll keep rolling with this. Maybe it'll catch up at some point. I don't give a lot of thought to the analytics. I don't I it's funny. I think maybe we're so trained to see digital, what's it, digital love? I don't even feel comfortable saying that, but the digital love is just a thumbs up or a like. That's some of the other ways that people demonstrate that they're kind of on board with you. Maybe there's some dissonance there for me. I love if anyone listens to us. There's another element to this around like there's somebody out there potentially listening in. I get like this moment of you kind of walk into your room and your kids are huddled up saying something, and then they kind of stop and they look at you, and they're like, oh, did Dad hear us? Did he hear what he was? You kind of that they know that something just happened. And the last part is it would be cool, I guess. It would be kind of cool. I'm not sure why, but it'd be kind of cool if there were more people that we could gather some chatter from, if something that we say or something we talk about kind of connects with their context, or they want to throw down a disagreement or something. But
I feel like that's like a next step. That's like a higher order. If there was like a hierarchy for like podcasting, depth at which listening and interaction occurs, I feel like that's a next level thing. It's cool that there are some people who will listen or watch every now and again, but there's no engagement. Nobody's reaching out and saying, hey, what you said there, I completely agree with, or I completely disagree with. That'd be kind of fun, but it's not happening. And you and I both know it's not an easy thing to happen. Like it just doesn't. I had a moment this week where that happened on Twitter, but it's rare. It's rare. But when it does happen, it's funny. You hear from people because then all of a sudden they're paying attention. It's almost like they see it unfold, and then after they see it unfold, then they say something. But I don't think they understand that in order to have something unfold, somebody has to jump in and start it. But they're more than happy to see it unfold. Does that make sense? So
it is. It does. Okay. So it is. The other thing is actually, before I say that, is my video still rolling on your end?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Is my video still rolling?
No. Oh, we're back. Funny as we say that. Now it is. What'd you do? Okay. That was awesome.
I didn't do anything.
Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can connect two different ideas here. I might lose. I thought of one, and then I realized that there's one I have to say first, so I might lose the second one. Maybe not. Do you ever, or have you ever had someone throw down that kind of frantic message or phone call, and they don't give any details about why they're calling, but they say, you gotta call me. And you're sort of sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, geez, like they sound like they really want to talk to me, but they didn't tell me anything. So now I'm on the hook to call them about something that's important to them. Do you see it's kind of like a reversal, they're hooking you into a conversation, but they're not giving you any details?
That doesn't really happen to me, but I understand.
Can you imagine the dynamic there? You might be sitting on the other end of receiving that message. Like my mom's notorious for that. Just like these straight up 4 or 5 words. You need to call me, Mom. And I think to myself, okay, I'm going to comply at some point. I got to get some stuff done. So here's one idea. Here's the second idea. I love that. I'm gonna push some more love Debbie's way. One of the things I've observed that Debbie does well, and I think this is a really great model it's a great model, I think, for showing connectedness online, is that I've always observed her chasing the gratitude. So if she chasing and supporting the gratitude. So if she posts something and someone gives her some comments, she engages in conversation. If she sees something that she appreciates. She engages in conversation. And I have a few people in my feed that I feel like they may drop a like on something, but they're more likely to pursue a bit of a conversation on the other end and kind of start banter back and forth. And when I think about when I'm posting stuff online, I've kind of let go. I think I got to a place where I really hoped I could provoke conversations with my posts. And we've been in enough conversations around like the socials can feel like a big, empty, lonely space if no one is interacting with you. And we've had those conversations, some of the on-ed mentor stuff, some of the new teachers that are dipping their toes into digital PLNs, like they want to ask a question, but no one will answer them. So, someone with multi-followers will sort of jump in and accelerate it and say, hey, help this person out. Like there's spaces there where sometimes you can feel like no one's really listening to you. I find like that sometimes is amplified when all people will do is just like a post. Like they don't go any further and they don't sort of step deeper into interacting with someone that posts something. They don't sort of ask them a follow-up question. They don't share something of themselves. Like there's something in some ways, what I would sort of look at, the dynamic of getting to know someone in general is not just a high five all the time. Like you want to go a little bit deeper and sort of like pick their brain a little bit. You want to honor maybe their path to that. Oh, where did you find that post? How did you come up with it? That's really cool. And I appreciate people jumping in and following the podcast. But this past week, I've really been thinking on and off around some of the, how do I put this? I've been thinking a lot about my need to create ripples, and instead pulling back and just thinking a little bit more deeply about the specific connections that I'm making. And I told you before we got on the on-ramp, reaching out to someone and calling them directly, and that phoning the directly for me was pretty satisfying. And it's, someone from the digital PLN I've met a few times in real life. But I find this past week, I've been thinking about that is like, have we gotten used to now the commodifying the relationship with likes and thumbs ups? Like, do you feel anything if someone puts a like on one of your posts? Or do you feel something different if they throw a comment and a like? Do you feel different about someone following our podcast? Or is that like, do you sort of put that into a same space of people trying to get to know you, wanting to get to know you? How do you relate to those analytics?
I'm very...
Finish your cereal, whatever you're chomping on.
No. Having some nuts.
Nice.
It's not the food that's got me. I'm just thinking. I'm processing. I'm appreciative of anybody who pays attention to anything I say. And with this podcast and with the YouTube channel and stuff, it's because there's not a lot of ripples. Like there's not a lot of ripples going out, or at least nobody's paying attention to them. I'm a little bit more hypersensitive to when someone says something about us on the podcast or about the podcast. So when I see like someone subscribe to the channel, it's just like I'm ultra sensitive to that because it's so rare. Number one. Number two, the thing for me that makes the social media so powerful are the interactions, is the connecting and actually talking about something that matters. And maybe sometimes talking about stuff that doesn't matter, but it's that connecting and having a little bit of a back and forth. That's where the value is for me. And it doesn't happen as much as I would like. So the analytics, it depends, I guess, on the platform and the context of what's going on and what's being said. I feel like Facebook, which I think I've mentioned to you, is like the basement of my social media house. It's where I invite people, and the line's gotten blurred over the last little while. I've been connecting with people that I don't necessarily know very well, but let me give you an example. I'm at a new school, and slowly I'm connecting with people I work with on Facebook. And what I've noticed is that I'm getting to know them a little bit. And I know that might sound funny to people, but at work, like we were talking about this last night at our staff party. At work, I get to work and I do my work. And I've been going to the staff room for the first block of lunch because now I don't have duty anymore at lunch. So I go to the staff room and I'll talk to people and I'll eat. But then the bell rings. Everybody goes their separate ways. And then after school comes and I go home. So I don't have a chance to talk to the planning time teacher, who went hiking with her boyfriend on the weekend, to hear about how was your hike. I don't have an opportunity to talk to the EA who posts pictures of her dog who she loves so much on Facebook. But I get to see all that and I get to learn a little bit about these people. And they get to learn a little bit about me because I heard somebody say this week, I saw a picture of you at hockey again. How'd your son do? And it was a nice entry into a conversation. So I don't get that kind of traction on Twitter. Nobody wants to talk on Twitter. I feel like people think that because it's sorry, my cold is kicking in here. I feel like people can't or they think they can't get any depth on Twitter, so they just don't do it there. But that's not true. You can go deep. It's just a matter of doing it. I can't talk, dude. You got to take over.
That was a ninja mute button you pulled off. I was watching the video there. I saw the cough coming. That was smooth. So it's got me. You got me thinking about the So some of the algorithms that connect us to people in the background. I feel like I want to bring back the smart glasses into the conversation, and you talking about how it builds empathy, the possibility to build empathy. And I'll come at it from a slightly different perspective, but that idea that somehow technology can actually humanize us, whatever that means, but it can kind of humanize us. So, I'm sitting with with a colleague, and I mentioned to her that, yeah, I saw on Facebook, there was the mention that you might be someone that I know. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you know how like on your feed, it'll say, here's some people, and it says who you have friends in common. And it gave me a pause when it popped up, because every once in a while, those are sometimes some really interesting connections to pop up, because most times every time for me, it's been someone that I hadn't considered, I guess, befriending. Like I hadn't sort of made, and in this case, this person I see every single day, and we have conversations every day. And I would say we have pleasant conversations every day, but I've never thought to myself, I'd like to befriend you. I sort of put it from the level of, I'm pretty satisfied being colleagues. I feel professionally we get along well. We've had great conversations that way, but I've never thought that there could be something deeper or another layer to get to know someone, which I'm being over analytical here, but this is what happened as I went through the Facebook feed, and it made a suggestion that here's someone you may want to connect with, someone you might know. And our connective tissues, as in the people that we have in common, are actually their work colleagues. So this is because there is no overlap with this new individual other than our work context. And it's the new school that I'm at, that I've connected on Facebook with a couple people there with intention. And so now their connections are being suggested as possibly someone I would want to make connections. And it was interesting because I brought it up. I brought it up in conversation. And let me go parallel to this thought. Have you ever approached someone, made contact with someone, either friend or professionally, and told them directly, yeah, you know what? So and so said I should meet you. I should meet you. I should make a connection with you. And so here I am. Like, I don't even know what's going to happen next, but this other friend said that we really should meet and talk about something. That has happened to you once or twice? Yeah. So that's what I kind of felt like Facebook was doing. And it's, in some ways, I'm at this space where, you know, I don't like that Facebook could potentially make a good suggestion, but I'm fascinated by the fact that Facebook could make a good connection for me with individuals. So I told this to the person. I said, you know what? Like, Facebook said that, you know, I should connect with you. I said it popped up in the bottom feed. And she said, well, I never really post anything. There's not much there. And I said, well, you know, I think it's fascinating. I said, because we obviously have some people in common. So we didn't talk about us in that point, because I didn't actually look to see who she and I were connected by. I'm pretty sure I know some of the people, because there's people at our school that are, I would say, are very connected both in real life and digitally. Like, I can see by their interactions, they're connecting with a lot of people at our school. What we ended up doing was talking about who it possibly was that we're connected with. And like you said, that was an interesting on-ramp to a conversation, because there was an element of blind date to it, but it was blind date based on reasonable data. So it's not just showing up at a restaurant and saying, okay, we're all here just to meet someone random. It's almost like the profiles and your connectivity. If you're authentic in who you're deciding to, authentic and intentional in who you're deciding to follow on Facebook, then does it serve to reason that if Facebook makes a suggestion based on your profile, that you actually could meet cool people based on their suggestions? God, I'm almost making Facebook seem like this really uber dating kind of computer, but getting to know people. And that's why I come back to the smart glass that you had mentioned, because part of what you had mentioned back in the day was that the potential for it to raise our empathetic and our compassionate capacities, so that when we're encountering someone, it's like, that's okay. I'm seeing a dude in a great big black beard, but popping up around him is he's doing hockey. He's like hockey with his kids, and he's got this Google certification, and he's got a podcast. Like, so just a little bit of that onion skin of your life is kind of popping up. If that is a part of the algorithms, and I could be saying something completely, like, maybe other people have landed here before, but I would say this was the first time with a colleague for me that I ever had a discussion around the intentionality of becoming a friend. With a colleague, I've done it. I think you and I have had numerous conversations about this, about how we've sort of like grown into friendship, but I haven't had conversations like that away from here, and maybe with my spouse and some other, more in real life people. So it was kind of fascinating for that to happen.
You've got me thinking about a number of different things, and I'm not sure how I'm going to funnel everything that I'm thinking.
Don't leave it messy. Leave it messy.
Okay, leave it messy, just like our classrooms, right?
I totally. I left yesterday, and I thought I should reset the classroom. I should totally reset the classroom, and I'm like, I do not want to reset the classroom.
I can't leave on Fridays without resetting my classroom, because on Saturday mornings there's Polish school in my building.
Yep.
And early on, the Polish teacher and I kind of came to
It
to an
happens.
agreement
Yeah.
on. So I tidy up on Fridays because Polish school's coming on Saturday, and I'm doing my best to respect that agreement. But I want to say, lately, I've been fascinated lately. I do want to talk about the smart glasses, but I feel I'm gonna forget what I want to say right now. I've been fascinated lately with my interactions with people that I get the vibe that they're not interested in talking to me. Fascinated. Um, I would love to actually. What is it about me that they don't like? Fascinated. Like, just tell me. Is it?
Can I challenge your thinking just for a sec?
Yeah.
Is there any possibility that they're just too swept up in their own heads that it actually you're not even you're not even there? You know what I mean? Like it's you're you're a human in front of them that is a means to an end. So it's not anything about you per se. It's just that you're not them.
I'd like to hear that though.
Okay.
That's part of my fascination is I would love to hear that. So
Okay.
you're right. Have I considered that? It's a consideration. It's not my number one consideration, but it is, if that's the case, I would love to hear that. It's part of the fascination. But I know it's not 100% what's going on in their head or their life. So that's the first thing I'm thinking. It's interesting. I've been thinking about it all week. When you're talking to someone and you get a vibe that they just don't want to talk to you, and I'm pushing back and I'm milking the conversation because I'm interested in seeing how it's going to play out. Sometimes I get the vibe and I back right off and I go away. Sometimes I don't. It's kind of like my own little thing. So I wanted to put that out there. And I appreciate you saying that it might not be me. It might just be the circumstances, but I think what I'm referring to is a pattern that I'm seeing. It's not just a one-off. One-offs are one-offs. Like, you could meet somebody and they could be having the worst day of their lives and you're like, "Whoa, they weren't very friendly." That's a one-off. But when you're with people every day and you're getting the same vibe all the time and you see how they interact with other people and it's more harmonious, it's more jovial, it's a different person. I do that too, but I'm just fascinated as I watch it because I can't watch myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated by it in others. Number one. Number two, technology humanizing us. I had this conversation at last week. We had a PD day on the Friday, and after a big gathering with our family of schools, we had lunch at a restaurant as a staff. And I was talking to the people sitting with me at the table about this, about the smart glasses and how I would love to, like, I have ideas about these smart glasses and how you could integrate them better into daily life and be able to read biomechanics and maybe get more information from a human based on body language and chemistry than anything else. And it was funny because after I go off on this like 5 minute talk about, wouldn't it be awesome if I walked into your room and I was wearing my glasses and it just started giving me information about your biomechanics and your energy at that moment in time. And one teacher says, kind of like a smart ass, she says, well, or you could just come in and talk to me and ask me how I'm doing. And I'm like, and everybody laughs. And I'm like, no, I get that. I get that. But some people don't have that capacity. Maybe they're the rare people. Like, some people don't read people well. Some people just, like, for example, people who have autism, some of them don't have the ability to, they take everything literally, right? So there's no nuance. Maybe those glasses could offer some nuance, whether it's artificial or not. My thing is, as someone, I would just love it, right? Like, if I'm telling you I can walk into a room and talk to somebody and get the vibe they don't want to talk to me, the glasses aren't gonna, like, I don't need glasses for that. But what I do need the glasses for is I would love to have that information come at me to give me more information. I don't know. It's something about it. As you know, I find technology very interesting, and I can see a lot of benefit from technology. Which brings me to my third point that I thought of. There was a tweet the other day by a consultant in my school board, and she had read something, she was retweeting it and adding a comment to it, and she tagged some of the consultants in the board and basically said, like, it was the original tweet was about innovation and technology. Do we need technology to be innovative? I think we'd all agree that the simple answer is no. And I wanted to respond right away, but I left it alone until I saw somebody else jump in that wasn't tagged. So I'm like, it's on. I'm not the first one. I just wanted to jump in, and she didn't tag me in the comment with the retweet. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna watch this thread and see how it plays out. And then another teacher in the system, an innovative teacher, well respected, jumped in and said her bit. I'm like, well, I'm jumping in saying mine then. And basically, the way I see it is, the simple answer is no, you don't need technology to be innovative. Simple answer. If we could go a little bit deeper, though, and let's use myself as an example. The technology that I've used for myself and with my students and for my students' learning has allowed me to see people do things that they would never have been able to do before without the technology. Plain and friggin' simple. So for me, technology helping me innovate is a big yes, but that's me. And I never considered myself a creative person before, but now I feel like I do have some creativity to offer the world. And it's because of the technology that I've been able to use to help me do things that I don't naturally have the talent to do. But with the tech, I'm assisted. It's unleashed something in me that has motivated me, that has engaged me, and therefore I continue on down the road of trying to do things slightly different to slightly better, more efficient, more interesting. Like, there's a number of different things that it's helped me do. And, maybe to someone who's uber creative, like before tech, when I had friends that were like wicked artists, right? And could do things with music and could do things with a pen and paper. I don't have that. That's not who I am. That's not how I was built. But you give me a mobile device or a 3D printer or software that can do the art stuff for me, then I have lots of ideas. I just was never able to bring them to life. And so at the end of all this, my message was, the technology has even the playing field for people like me who have ideas but don't know how to get them out or don't have the means to express myself because I'm verbally not gifted either. So I need these things to help me. It's leveled the playing field. It's sparked more interest, more desire, more engagement for me. And if it's doing that for me, then it's doing that for my students. And I've seen it do that for my students. This is where it gets dark. Are people using the reasoning that we don't need technology to innovate? Are they using that, saying that so that they don't have to spend money on technology? Why are they pushing that agenda so hard? Because I've seen the benefits of using technology and allowing me to become more innovative because of it. And I've got examples so I can share those. These other people who don't want to connect innovation to technology, is it because excuse me, they're naturally innovative and they have the gifts that allow them to show their innovation without the use of tech? I don't know. But I don't hear these people giving me reasons. And it kind of, it's like rubs hard against me and I don't like it. I don't like it and I want to push back. That's what I have to say.
The can you okay, maybe I won't flip it to you right away. Get a drinky in there. So, I've been really trying to remember yeah, me, I guess, prior to kind of jumping in the pool and, you know, using Twitter and Insta and Facebook. Started, what did, I don't know. There's mixed things here. So the whole process of seeing me trying to see myself independent of using technology, because I can agree with you. Like for me, I have a real hard time having a conversation that if I accept the fact that technology, as long as I accept the fact that technology is in my pocket at any given moment during the day, I have a hard time not acknowledging that technology in my pocket it's me. It's a part of my life. It's a part of how I connect with people. It's so much bigger than the device in my pocket. So anything that goes down the path of there may be a better way to live without technology, I have to do a lot of work to stay in that conversation. I don't necessarily, I won't say I won't feel inspired by it, but I think it's the box can't, Pandora, it's open. I don't feel like I can reasonably go back there. Here's a however though. I have tried to remember me prior to using technology, and not in the same way, let's say you acknowledging that, you know, technology has really boosted you to connect with your creative. I'm just trying to remember my life without it. What were some of the things that I did? What were the parallel processes that I did? Did I do anything? Like, I'm almost like reverse engineering the Sammer, going back to when it was like trying to get to the substitution stage. Was technology for me, was I substituting for other technologies or other tools that maybe you start to use it? Was it just a plain curiosity? Like just plain curiosity. Oh, what's this? I pick it up. You know, as a kid, my parents used to laugh. Like I was the kid that we'd go out for a walk somewhere and I'd come home with a pocket full of rocks. And my parents were like, where did those come from? Like we were walking on sidewalks. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just walking along. I found one. Well, why'd you bring it home? I don't know. Look, it's shiny. It's like it's got a cool red line in it, or it feels nice under my thumb. I'm like, okay. So I try to think back through my evolution of using technology. I guess there's something to the conversation about somebody, if they're suggesting that relationships, so some of these people that are talking about the technology and there's a better way, if they're suggesting that relationships could be better by not using technology, I always wonder, is this also someone that would be open to me walking up to them and saying, I'd like to be your friend? So the individual that said, or you could just come in and say hi or check in, has that person's behavior prior to that moment demonstrated that that was a possibility? Or as you said, is it just a quippy kind of response, you know, trying to provoke you into something? And for me, I'm trying to avoid that loop in how I talk about tech. Like, I'm actually working really hard. I'm working very hard to sort of find the soul in my technology use, because I see a lot of people that I find interesting online and that I know them in real life, but I watch their posts and I think to myself, is there harmony in what I know about them in real life and what they're posting online? And then I think to myself, am I in touch with sort of like the soul of my use? Like, and last week we were talking about the bots, and you sort of saying that was out of step with what at least Clough you seem to be about. And that gave me a pause to think about what is my path in using technology? What is my, and it's not, I'm not saying it always has to be intentional. It can be purely entertainment. And we all have those spaces where it's just kind of cool to play Candy Crush. You have a moment, right? But I'm trying to go back into my own evolution and see what you say that technology has helped to become more creative. This past week, and I think this is going to be something moving forward for me more and more, is Has my technology use made me a better person? And am I aware of those choices as I'm making them? In the same way, when I was sitting with that colleague at work, and there was a suggestion that through Facebook we should be friends. And if I don't take that as just in air quotes friends, because it's one of the, you know, it's one of the analytics of Facebook, would I actually want to be this person's friend? I haven't followed the person yet. I haven't friended them, because I feel like I've been measuring, do I want this person to be a friend? Do I want that from the relationship? Is that, I don't know, that really meandered. That really meandered. We're leaving it messy, I guess.
I feel like today we're not, I feel like the podcast today is a little bit of a leftovers mismatch. You know what I'm saying? We've not had any clear direction, in my opinion. That's the way I'm seeing it today. But I like that we're hitting on some of these things. I like, maybe we're just tying up loose ends. I don't know. I just think I hear these things, and I have such strong opinions about some of the things I've been hearing lately. And it would be great to have a discussion. But again, like, I didn't get, you know, I think a couple of people may have responded to my tweet, and that was it. And they liked it. But I don't know if they agree or they disagree. I would love to know. I just think I'd love to hear the other side more. You know, okay, so who are these innovative people that don't need technology to be innovative? And and how do they do it? So it's not a place, like, I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to tell me how you do it. I'd love to know about your process. I'd love to know about your any techniques you have, or just the way that you flow. Because if you're able, I mean, and I'm not saying I need technology 100% to be innovative. I don't. I just think in the space I'm in right now, the work that I do, and the fact that I really enjoy the use of technology to help, not hurt, it works for me. It works for me, and it's doing things for me that I just wouldn't be able to do for whatever reason. But then I think these other people, it's rare that I've met someone who's just an innovative person. I mean, I know people who have innovated and do innovate in particular fields of their life, but are they walking around being innovative every moment of their life, every day? No. I find that innovation happens in silos, you know, like, so, dare I say that the innovation I do tends to live in the EDU silo and not in, like, the real world. Like, sometimes things will happen in my life and I'll come up with a really good idea that's innovative, and then I'm kind of proud of myself because I was able to pull my innovative thinking out of the silo of education and into the broader silo of life, if you want to call it that, or if you could visualize that for a second. I'd like to know. I have a feeling that money's involved somehow. I have a feeling that, you know, people will say things or do things to avoid spending money or giving it money or power to somebody else. That's like a really deep thing, not meant to be discussed during this podcast, but an ulterior motive, perhaps. I don't know. And, you know, they would say the same to me, and I would say 100%. If somebody told me that they were going to give me a ton of technology to have in my classroom for my students to use, I wouldn't say no. Yeah, give it to me. Bring it on. Let's do this. Let's see how we can do this, what we can do with it.
It's so the high school that I'm at is a 1-to-1 high school. So I would love, and maybe I got to figure out a way to have this conversation, is that idea of 1-to-1 class. So 1-to-1 classrooms, for anyone that's, you know, that's someone out there, though, is that idea that every student has a piece of technology in hand. So it's not just accessible. They have it with them. They have it with them. And there's sort of the design of the lessons is that it's Google Classroom is heavily used. There's other digital environments that are used both during class and in the halls and everywhere. So the assumption is that one student, one device, everyone's got something. And I just, what I observe is that, one-to-one school doesn't necessarily mean one-to-one people. Not everybody is sort of in that space. So this becomes an appropriate litmus for what you're suggesting here, is that to be curious to figure out who it is that's existing with less technology. Maybe, I don't know if I could ever buy without, but less, and that somehow less is better. I think for me, it always comes down to the intentionality, as in you're using this tech because, and you sort of land there somewhere with, you can sort of explain what's going on. But I've observed that not every student wants to do have to leverage it this way, digital learning. They don't. More than on one occasion, I've had a student say, I would prefer to do this on pen and paper. Can I? And, I'll respect that. Sure, use your tech. However, I want you to use a vast array of tools in order to access whatever it is we're going to work on. And like what you were mentioning with some people that have either cognitive or physical differences, the tech isn't always the answer to sort of get them to connect with whatever you're teaching. There's a whole lot of world of physical tools and manipulatives that can help someone learn, that can feel. Now, again, I realize I'm talking tech even as I say this. I'm not going to be blind to the fact that we can talk about tech as digital tools or tech as actual tools. I was going to post this week and I didn't, because I wasn't sure that I was interested in the idea. I didn't know if I was interested in the conversation. I was going to ask on Twitter for examples of people where they thought that they had really done well to bridge the actual and, let's say, digital learning. So where they felt like they had seen like this was a really good mix of, here, now we're going to use the device, now we're not going to use the device. Because I find that some of these conversations are so polarizing that people will want to talk about, like you talk to, let's say, a tech teacher, and the pride of being able to sort of get materials in your hands and sort of like work on a car, versus someone that is in an English class and the whole class is working collaboratively on a document. And this is all learning, but they're two different spaces of learning. And I think about the student that moves between those two spheres and experiences the entirely hands-on version in one, and then the sit down and sort of stay in your chair kind of version of the other. So I thought to myself, geez, I wonder, if anybody would share out where they thought that there was a really good mix of that. And I didn't. I don't know why. I think it came back to where, again, is this sidestep, but is this a conversation where I feel like I'd be relationship building, or am I just having a conversation for conversation's sake? I've had a frustrated week with social media, more with myself. I'm having another one of those weeks where I'm questioning, why am I using it? Why am I here? Why am I here?
Uh-oh, are you dumping it again?
No, because I think I've accepted that I can't. I have accepted that.
But you can control how often you go to it.
See, I think that's the thing, right? Like, let's be honest. That's to complain about something that is within your control. I told you my whole other, why Goggins is just cheesing me off right now, because I'm not actioning the stuff that I should be. Not to bring him in so late to the conversation, but that's where I'm sort of like, that's where I'm existing. Is there things that I should be just making a decision on? God, that I'm not effectively doing it. That's another podcast though.
Yeah, it's funny that you dropped that like 6 minutes before we decide to turn off, but it's been interesting because I've been paying attention to what you've been saying, believe it or not, about, I understand your frustration with Twitter, for example, because I see the tweets you're dropping. I see I see like the conversations you want to have, and I don't get why people aren't jumping in. I just don't get it. Like, for example, I always want to respond to your tweets, but I'm like, I'm not gonna do it because you already know how I feel. We already talk, so it's not like you need to hear me 24/7, right? I mean, every now and again I'll just jump in because I'm like, I got to say something, but I watch and I'm like, well, who's jumping in? Who's talking to Clough? And you've got some good connections, like Gary Vaynerchuk's talked about. It doesn't matter how many people you have connected to you. What really matters is the interaction. So you could have like 100 followers, and if you're getting like a quarter of them to engage and to respond and to come at you, that's awesome. You could have 5,000 followers and the same 3 people keep commenting and liking your stuff. That sucks. I get that, and I 100% agree with that. So I can see, number one, your frustration because you've got some interesting thoughts and ideas and you're putting it out there so that you can have a conversation. You can learn a little bit, you can give back, and it's just not happening, in my opinion.
My frustration, I just, only because this is forever and ever and ever, someone's going to find this. My frustration is really, it is self-facing. It predominantly self-facing, because to sort of, as you said, like to have a tight 5 to 10 that are willing to sort of go the distance in a conversation is so much more valuable than to have hundreds and hundreds. I'm on point with that. Where my frustration is where I've disconnected from my agency and I'm doing something just because. It's the pulling out, it's the standing in line. It's the mentality of standing in line, pulling out your device and flipping through your feed and not really knowing why. So this is like a next level of habit chasing. And I'm not going to oversimplify it by saying like somehow I'm going to get any legs on it in the next week. But, to be aware that what I'm craving and to accept what I'm craving is actually connectivity on both digital and real levels. Go back to the Facebook conversation with my colleague. I'm accepting the fact that I do crave work friendships. And I do want those colleagues to be something of value to me and not just a label of value to me, right? Like just not another analytic as in I have hundreds of friends. So that sort of, that soul that I'm searching in my own use is the thing that I'm chasing. And it does become frustrating. It becomes frustrating when at some point I have said to myself, I don't know if I actually have the tools to take this to the level that I want it to be at. Sure, I could say that there's other frustrations if I post something out and I want to have a conversation, but hey, you know what? I'm going to keep generating some of those conversations, right? And I do recognize that unless I'm intentionally pursuing a relationship with someone on Twitter, it's just not going to happen. It's too big of a space, or Facebook or anything, Insta, whatever. It's too big of a space. So I think the sweet spot is, how do I get my connections to a field or a grouping that I feel like I can stay in a really cool, constant flow of connectivity with, right? That sort of circle of friends. What will it take for me to sort of look at that? And that's why I kind of look back at going back through my digital use as, was there ever anything in my mind I thought I need to make more friends, so I'm going to start using social media? Like, what was the thing that got me using it? And I still haven't found that thing. I haven't found that thing. Everything becomes what is the advertised usage of social media. Like it becomes the sort of like the party line, so to speak. But I've really been trying to think back, like, what was it about? What made me connect to Twitter? Actually, Twitter, I can say why I started using Twitter. I specifically started using Twitter when I was teaching hospitality back at my 2 high schools ago. And I had a high number of parents that were using it. So I would post out the stuff that we're making from the classroom. That's how that started.
Nice.
It was at the time, yeah. I think because it was a relationship that I understood. You know what I mean? Like, it was measured. I knew why I was using it. I had a complete sense of my connection to the audience, and we had fluid conversation where it was only about a single topic. Like, it was about the foods class and about their kids for the most part, right? It was clear.
It sucks. Now I feel like we're rolling, but we gotta go. Oh well, this is the way it goes, I guess, eh? Maybe
You can
next.
get in touch with us at at our
Okay,
chids or at Chris J Clough at Twitter. Feel free to reach out. Anyone
yeah,
wants to
feel
talk to us.
free. If you've heard anything here to our 7 subscribers, if you've heard anything here that you feel you want to run with, hit us up because we're happy to engage with you using social media where everyone can see our conversation. I think that's partly why some people step away because they don't like that everyone can see what we're talking about. But
This ain't for everybody.
no,
Yet,
it ain't.
yet it is at the same time. I dig
Chris,
this. I dig doing this out in the open. I do. There's value.
I do sometimes. Sometimes I'm not interested. But that's a whole other podcast too.
Dun dun dun. All right, man.
Have a great day. Will we be on next week? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Do we do a live episode?
How do we even do a live episode? Do you have the tech to make that happen?
Is there the bandwidth that's available?
I doubt that.
Do we
record some of
that's what I was wondering, like
some of like, and do we get video or do we just get the audio? I don't know. I'm open to it.
How would we do that? How would we do that?
Maybe it's something to consider this week as the time goes on.
We each bring a mini tripod and just have our do it live, one phone facing. I don't know. Okay, let's chat that one out. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
So it's the week before Christmas break.
Yes.
And in elementary school, it's gonna be off the hook. And I'm gonna be decorating my beard a couple of times this week because I can't just do it on one day. There's not enough time for me to visit classrooms. I have a book that I like to read. It's my favorite Christmas book. And so part of the reading involves the decorating. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the weird looks I'm going to get as I walk up and down the hallways and do my outdoor duty at 9 a.m. with my beard dressed up like a Christmas tree. So hopefully I can talk a little bit more about that next week. If we even have a podcast, I don't know.
There'll be something
next week. Okay, fair enough. There'll be something next week. And I'm looking forward to it. Have a good week, Chris.
You too, man. Thanks for talking.
Anytime. See ya.